Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about 2.3 complementary and supplementary angles. And our goal today is to find the measures of complementary and supplementary angles. In order for us to find them and out, we need to know what in the world they are. So please write this down. Here's a couple vocab words. And we're going to have a couple of theorems after that as well. Okay, a complementary angle. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to equal 90 degrees. So if I look at a figure here to the right, I have this wonderful angle. Okay, notice that there's an angle here and there would be an angle here. If we added this angle and we added this angle together, they would equal 90 degrees. Because of that, those two angles are known as complementary angles. Two angles that add up to equal 90 degrees. Okay, supplementary angles. If I give you an angle like this, okay, and then another angle like this. Let's say this is 135, this is 45. Okay, complementary angles add up to equal 180. These two are supplementary angles. Supplementary meaning add up to 180, complementary meaning add up to 90 degrees. Notice that we can also, they do not have to be attached like they are up here. Complementary angles and supplementary angles can be pulled apart. They don't have to be right next to each other. Talking about right next to each other, adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are two angles that share a common vertex and a common side. Not just a common vertex, but also they have to share a common side. So if you look back up at that original problem here when we were talking about complementary angles, these two angles, if I label this one and this two, those two angles would be adjacent angles. They're right next to each other, they share a common vertex, and they share a common side between the two of them. Okay? A theorem. A theorem is a true statement that follows from other true statements. We're going to be using theorems in two-column proofs. Two theorems I want you to know today. Please write this down. It says if two angles are complements of the same angle or of congruent angles, then the two angles are congruent. Okay, so if you look at the example down below, and yes, I would like you to write both bullet points. Okay, it says if angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to 90 degrees and angle 2 plus angle 3 is equal to 90 degrees, then angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent. They are the exact measure. Why? Because they both share this angle 2 together. Basically, angle 2 plus x equals 90 degrees, and that x can be angle 1 or angle 3. Okay? The congruent supplement theorem, it's the exact same thing, except it's with supplemental angles. Okay? 4 and 5 add up to 180, 5 and 6 add up to 180. Then, if that is true, 4 and 6 are congruent because they both, when added with 5, equal 180. Alright? Questions? Please let me know if you have any questions about that when you see me. Okay, tell whether the angles are adjacent or not adjacent. I want you to look back in your notes, look at the definition of adjacent, and try to see if these angles are adjacent. Alright, so looking at angle 5 and 6, I'm going to point out 5 and 6. Here's 5 right here, here's 6 right here. And the question is, are they adjacent? Now, definition of adjacent means they share a common vertex and they share a common side. So if we look at 6, 5 and 6, here's their vertex. They share that vertex together. Okay? Then look for a common side, which they do. PU, right? PU, ooh, PU, sticky. Okay? PU is going to be their common side. So are they adjacent? Yes, they are. So they are adjacent angles because they share a common vertex at P and a common side of PU. Erase that. Let's look at another one. Angle 7 and angle 8. Here's 8. Here is 7. So the very first thing I'm going to ask is, do they have a common vertex? Absolutely. They have that common vertex of point P, or vertex P. Now, do they share a common side? They do not. They do not share a common side, because if we split this into two angles, notice neither one of those are going to be common sides. Therefore, angle 7 and angle 8 are not adjacent. Check to see if they have a common vertex and a common side. If they don't, they are not adjacent. If they do, they are adjacent. 5 and 6 are adjacent. 7 and 8, not adjacent. Okay, moving on. Find the measures of a complement and a supplement of each angle. So you're coming up with two answers for each one. Coming up with the complement angle and coming up with the supplement angle. I want you to take a moment now and try to figure it out. Okay, so now looking at this very first one, complement angle. And my writing looks like chicken scratch, but that's okay. Okay, we know that a complement angle, when we have two angles that are complements, they add up to equal 90 degrees. Okay, so what we have to do in order to figure that out is we take 90 minus 32. When we take 90 minus 32, we get a complement of 58 degrees. If we have an angle of 58 degrees, because 58 and 32 add up to equal 90 degrees, that is going to be a complementary angles. Two angles adding up to equal 90 degrees. Complement, think 90. 90, think complement. Okay? A supplemental angle. Supplementary angles, remember, add up to equal what? 180 degrees. So, instead of subtracting from 180, we are going to instead of subtracting from 90, we are going to subtract from 180. When we do so, we get the measure of 148 degrees as its supplement, because if we added 148 and 32 together, we would get 180 degrees. Add two angles to equal 180. Those two angles are supplementary angles. Do the same thing for angle B. Subtract from 90 to get the complement. Okay, when we get that complement, they're so nice. 27 degrees is going to be its complement, because we subtracted from 90. Two angles that add up to equal 90 degrees are complementary angles. And lastly, two angles that add up to equal 180 degrees are what kind of angles? Supplementary angles. So we know that the supplementary to angle B, when we subtract 180 minus 63, we get 117. Okay? Complementary angles, supplementary angles, know that stuff. Awesome. Last but not least, it says angle 1 and angle 2 are complements. Okay? Think about what that means. They're complements. Angle 3 and angle 2 are complements. Can you show that angle 1 and, that is, angle 3 are congruent? Explain. So the question is, I want you to just tell me, it's a simple yes/no answer. Can you show that? Is that possible? And then give me a reasoning as to why it is possible. Your explanation is going to be your reasoning. So give me a yes/no answer followed by a reason as to why that is possible or not possible. Alright, give it a shot. Alright, so the question is, can you show that angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent? Absolutely. Yes, you can. And the reason as to why we know that, it is because of that wonderful congruent complements theorem. Okay, remember, if you remember that second bullet, it said if angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90 degrees and angle 2 plus angle 3 equals 90 degrees, because they both share this angle 2, which it says so up at the top, okay, because they share that angle 2, that means they are complement. They are congruent. They are the exact same measure because they share that angle 2 as its complement. Alright? Great job, guys. If you have any questions, again, do not hesitate to ask. Ask me anytime. Just let me know. Alright? Have a good day.